Before we call the meeting to order, just want to make an announcement. We will have comments from the public speaking to agenda item 13. It'll be Mr. Moore, our fire captain. So, Chief Moore.
Chief.
All right, call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell? Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be the statement by the board vice president.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance led by our board clerk, Mr. Jerry Denton.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Next item will be the formal adoption of the agenda. Any questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be the approval of the August 12th board meeting minutes. Discussion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 6, Ms. Hubert. All right.
President Allen and members of the board, I'd like to introduce you to Sean and Christine, and our head coach for Special Olympics, Christina Smith. I'm Michelle Hubert. The Tulsa Parrot Club had a golf tournament fundraiser, and Sean is here to present us with a check as a donation to specifically our Broken Arrow Special Olympics program. He is a former Special Olympian for Broken Arrow Public Schools and a proud Broken Arrow Public Schools graduate. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, Tom. $1,000. Thank you.
How much was that? I'm
How mu-
sorry.
$1,000.
Oh, awesome. All right. Let's get our picture taken with you. Sean, can we get our picture taken with you? All right. You're like a celebrity around here, aren't you? Best athletic trainer ever and everything.
You should get up there.
Come on. Where's my big man? Thank you. That's awesome. Now, this item will discussion or on the item or entertain a motion to accept the donation by Sean.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate you. Next item, comments from the public. We do have Mr. Moore.
All right, thank you. Thank you, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop. I just wanted to say tonight, on behalf of the city manager, Michael Spurgeon, and myself, we really appreciate the partnership that Broken Arrow Public Schools and the city of Broken Arrow, especially the fire department, share with you. Whether it's hanging banners that we've got to do here recently, or standing by at the football games, or teaching public education in your schools, we really appreciate the close relationship that we have with each and every one of the school sites and the superintendent and all of her staff. And tonight on the agenda is an item where we're getting to help with getting the property ready for the STEM Academy. But the Spoon property that the school owns, we're going to enter into an agreement tonight, hopefully, to use that for some very realistic fire training. And the fire department is only successful because of the training that we do. And again, the partnership that we have with the schools just continues to reinforce the great things happening in our community. So on behalf of Mr. Spurgeon and myself, we just wanted to say thank you again for that partnership.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Moore.
you, Mr. Moore.
Now, isn't there a house on there that we need to get rid of?
That's what we're going to do.
You're gonna burn it down, right?
Well, we're going to help with the destruction.
Good deal.
We appreciate that. Next item,
We need
number
some spectators.
8, Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I'm here for our quarterly construction update. I have some fun props and some people here with me tonight, but I'm just going to kind of speak a little bit about some of the Phase 2 projects and then let them take over for STEM. Phase 1 is complete with other couple miscellaneous projects that are done. Under construction, we have New Elementary 16 and the baseball, softball entry plaza. And under programming, we have the Innovation Center, which includes the VOAG facility and Childers Middle School. Elementary 16 is coming out of the ground. We have some steel going up. This is the entry in the gymnasium, the pods, entry and inside, the classrooms and cafeteria. And then this is the site. We have all of the columns on the west half done. Some of the joists are set, and tilt wall panels should start going up in the next couple weeks. Baseball, softball entry plaza, we have an executed contract, executed bonds, and we will start working out there this week, actually. That was the entryway, and then these are some more memorial dedication plaques going on, and we're going to create sort of a plaza feel going into that facility. Childers renovation addition, we're still in programming on this one. We're going to add a new choir room, choir room right there on the left. And on the left over here, we're going to add some science. And then the Innovation Center. I know this is kind of the big one, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. O'Brien. This, as Chief Moore said, the Spoon property is where this one will be located. And then this is the 3D model, which we now have in front of you guys in person. That is going to be sitting here at the PAC lobby and making some rounds with Dr. Dunlop. And we're really excited about this one. And Miss O'Brien, I'm going to turn it over to you. Miss O'Brien is a partner with WRA Architects and our lead designer, so she will be talking.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight and present. I also have my team with me. They're in the back. I have Eric Horman, Chance Howe, Madeline Greenlee, and Evan Murta. And yeah, this is us. This is our team who's been working on this project. So I'm gonna speak quickly. So if you have any questions, just please ask me. Just to recap where we are in the process. So We did, back in September, we did meet with, or I'm sorry, it's September now. Earlier in the year, we met with both the students and some administrators and staff at the high school and went through a design charrette process. And I know Bob has recapped some of that. But at that meeting, we were able to really brainstorm exactly what is going to be part of this STEM center. All the different teams broke up into groups and were able to develop bubble diagrams and start to place the different pieces together, as well as come up with a list of really great ideas. And these are items that we're trying to incorporate as much as possible into the new building. There's a lot of really great ideas and a lot of energy. And I have to say a lot of these ideas came from the students. And it was a really exciting process, especially to hear their feedback on what they wanted that building to become. After that, we settled on 3 different schemes and met with the STEM committee and ended up choosing option B as what you see here. And that option has further been developed through the schematic design process, which we're finalizing now and starting to move into the design development process and simultaneously starting to work on construction documents as well. From there, we developed different options for how these learning communities are really going to start developing. And the larger image is the one that we ended up settling on. So we have 2 different lab spaces, a studio, a computer lab, 2 team rooms, 4 offices, and then some storage, which can also serve as shelter in place. We also developed various schemes for the makerspace and the commons area and developed those and presented those to the STEM committee as well. So this is currently where we are with the project. We're continuing to develop the site plan as well as the floor plans even further. But some of the highlights are, you can see the ag facility is about halfway up the site, and we decided to move that down from its original location, which was further back, so it has more of a connection with the main building, but still has enough space for the animals, for smells and just pasture and everything, and possible future expansion as well. And then we situated the building closer to Albany Street, again for future expansion and room for growth in the future. The floor plan on the right, the basic idea of the floor plan are there's 2 bars with the commons makerspace being that center hub of the entire school where everything connects to that center piece. And that would be a large 2-story volume in the space. Oh, going too fast? Okay. This is an aerial view of the building, so you can start to see those 2 bars. The lower bar is, we're planning on burying it down into the ground and retaining the earth to one side. And then it can open up to the views towards the lake and the stream and the tree line in the distance.
Nice.
This is a view of the front entry and what we're envisioning currently. This is taken from Albany Street, from the bus drop-off area. So this is that upper bar, and the one thing to note on this as well is there's a large covered workspace under that upper bar. So it's a whole nother area of the building that can be usable space for the students. We're showing here a view inside the VOAG facility. This is a view of one of the show arenas that we are planning on developing. And that's it.
That's
So
cool.
that was quick.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
Do you guys have any more questions?
When do you guys plan construction for the STEM?
Construction will start March or April, actually April, May of next year, and we'll be done with construction August of 2021. So for that 21-22 school year.
So you start March of 2020, and then the 21 years when it should be.
Yes.
will it encompass the VOAG as well as STEM, or just STEM then VOAG?
It'll encompass both of them. We'll kind of simultaneously build that whole phase one of that project. Or I guess it's this whole bond project.
Okay.
And then if we do future phases on that site.
Anything else?
Nice job.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good deal.
Okay, next item is the general consent approval. One item before we open for discussion or an approval is we're gonna need to remove item 56 because of some language issues within the, what's being requested there. So that will come back at the next board meeting.
That's not part of the general consent, is it?
I believe, no, it's
Number 56.
56. I
It's not-
apologize.
It's not a consent item.
We should have done it before. We can still strike it when we get there. We can,
That's fine.
we can table it.
Okay,
So we'll just table it.
that's fine.
Sorry about that. My apologies. Well, general consent, any discussion?
Make a motion to accept?
Second?
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Okay, 56 is the item that we would need to table, so
So
go ahead and make the motion.
make a motion to table item 56 for later discussion.
Second?
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
I don't think,
We're not
buddy.
gonna vote on it, never mind, I'll just pacify.
I don't think I got consent. Wait,
Did you get consent?
They didn't give the button.
I'm stuck on 7. Item 7.
You are behind.
I clicked the sync.
Can you sync?
Oh, there it is.
Okay, whoop, there it is.
Okay. You should make no vote in that, since he's singing to us. 57, Bob.
I'm here to seek your approval for the landscaping bids for elementary school 16.
Questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolman.
Still,
No voting button.
We'll just, if you
Here's the
can't get
voting-
it, just do
There's the
manually.
voting buttons right there.
There we go.
Okay. All right, Ms. James.
I'm not showing voting button.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and the board. I would like to present for your discussion for a motion to vote on for your approval or disapproval of the purchase for an agreement between us and McGraw-Hill.
Sit back.
We are purchasing Redbird Language Arts and Writing digital curriculum for our 6th and 7th graders.
I don't know why it's, I'm gonna log out.
Okay. I got
Wait till
your
he's
vote.
done him hawing around over here.
It's locked up. I'm had to log out.
And you can do that again.
Mr. Dent, we're trying to buy some textbooks.
That's
Do you
right.
mind?
It's that learning thing that I have a challenge.
We won't say where you graduated.
It's,
You know, I'm
Sorry, Ms. James.
You're fine.
taking it manually too, right?
All right.
it's not taken.
We ever used this before?
No, we have used McGraw-Hill in the past, but this version of curriculum we have not, basically because we've not ever had it's been a very long time since the state has been able to help support us in textbook purchasing. So the review and all of the research we've done on this, I think this program will be a very good asset for us. One of our weakest areas, I feel like, in our team kind of looks at is the writing. We're struggling just a little bit, so this will help us pick up on the grammar and the writing piece of that we need.
Will it also give our students the experience of writing using a digital
Computerized,
device? Because from what I've heard, a lot of districts, and ours is one of them, we saw the students struggling with writing on computers because they weren't used to doing it that way.
Absolutely. I felt like last year especially, it became like a or a typing test as opposed to a writing, because the kids didn't know how to push shift, to capitalize letters. They just weren't used to that. So this will help, because it is all strictly digital use, especially with our Chromebooks 1-to-1. Those 6th and 7th graders will be writing and responding to constructed questions with this. So it will definitely enhance our ability to perform on the test, I believe.
Cool.
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Ms. Thornton.
Good evening, Dr. Dunlop, President Allen, members of the board. I'm here tonight seeking your approval to renew our contract with Rehab Source for Kids with some additional cost. You know, as we struggle to find speech pathologists and psychologists, one of the ways that we're able to kind of cover that gap is to contract with Rehab Source for Kids for some additional support in those areas, and that's why the contract is higher this year.
Questions? Discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, next item, Ms. Thornton.
Well, I'm also seeking your approval to purchase, do the math curriculum for our elementary special education classrooms. We're really excited about this curriculum. It is research-based interventions designed specifically to rebuild that foundational learning, those basic concepts in mathematics that some of our kids really are missing, and then it gives them trouble throughout their, educational career because they've missed those foundational concepts. And this curriculum comes with everything the teachers need. All the materials are created, the manipulatives, the games, and the teacher's guide, so teachers can really just start. And it's closely aligned with our Orgo math, so we're real excited that we're supporting what is happening in the gen ed classrooms as well. Excuse me. So we're seeking that approval to have some curriculum, because previously special education teachers have kind of had to make their own materials, and so this is a big win for us.
Nice.
Any discussion, questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Ms. Eniff.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. My first item is the monthly financial reports through the end of August. I'll keep my comments on this report rather brief, because we will be going over the entire budget. No, that's right. Yeah. We'll be going over the entire budget here in a couple minutes, but just as a reminder, our initial state aid allocation is $57.5 million. We did receive our first payment in August. Ad valorem isn't really receivable until mid-January, and state and federal sources have continued to come in. The really great thing is, since we are receiving textbook allocations, we are receiving a quarter of that payment throughout the year, and that allocation is just under $900,000 for us this year. So unless you have any questions specifically about the August reports, we'll cover things more extensively in the operating budget.
Any questions? Okay, next item.
My next item is to ask the board to approve our estimate of needs for the 1920 school year. As you recall, this is a yearly annual, if you will, cash audit of the previous year's financial transactions. The two really important pieces of this report are the values that we received from Tulsa and Wagner County, which, as I reported through subcommittee, grew at just about 4% this year. We had been seeing growth of about 6% for the past 2 years, but 4% is still really strong, and that's above what our financial advisor predicts for us. And it also gives us that cash ending fund balance for our appropriated funds. So once the estimate of needs is approved, that kind of starts our financial reporting season. It's sent to the county excise board to set the legal budget for the district.
Okay. Any questions, discussion?
Is that item 62?
Yes,
Okay,
it's an action item.
just clicked on here.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Miss Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 63, Ms. Eno.
All right, the next item is our operating budget. And so with our operating budget, after the estimate of needs is approved, the board will approve what the district will actually put into place, which is always below that top ceiling for the estimate of needs. And one thing I'm really proud about our operating budget this year is that we've tried to do a much better job of using past data to build the budget. And we talk all the time about how important data is in instruction, but data is very important on the business operations side of the house as well. With that data, I feel like we can make better choices and decisions for how our financial operations can support instruction, because that is the primary focus and should be the main focus of how we spend our money. So looking at our general fund revenue, these are just a couple points of pride with early college high school, the upcoming Patriot Bowl that we have. Just as a reminder, we launched the ABCs of School Funding last year, which is a great partnership with our communications team to try and get more general information and knowledge about our budget out to our public, and that's been received really well. Our CAFR and our PAFR continue to receive awards and recognition on the national level. We continue to bring in additional revenue through our partnership with Commerce Bank and just simply changing a few of the procedures that we do in the business side of the house. And you can see there's just some statistics on our payments and invoices processed. So our proposed revenue budget is just over $130 million. Really the only change for our revenue budget that we're proposing is the change in some of our state allocations with state aid and our textbook allocation. We typically collect and receive about 97% of our ad valorem dollars, and so we're staying relatively consistent with that. And we are starting to see a little bit of change with our interest collections. The Fed has done one adjustment this year, and we are being told to expect another before the year is complete, so we are monitoring that very closely. Again, looking at our ending fund balance carryover from the 18-19 school year, just over $15 million. This helps us get the year started, get payroll processed, get bills paid until we start receiving our big influx of money. A lot of that too, keep in mind, is restricted dollars for, like I said, payroll for our federal programs, and so we are having to report that $15.5 million a little more stringently to show the categories that it is restricted to and belongs. State aid, a little under $4.5 million, more than what we received in 18-19 to help fund the second mandated teacher pay raise and the additional operation money that was approved at the end of the legislative session. Looking at the expenditure budget, we are looking at a $138 million expenditure budget for this year. That sounds like a big increase from where we were last year at 133, but again, data drives decision making, and as we have tried to fine tune and get closer projections for payroll budgets, we feel very comfortable proposing $138 million for this fiscal year. Again, keep in mind that a lot of that money is tied up into payroll budgets, restricted federal budgets, and those type of accounts. One of the things I want to point out, and I think that the board and the district should be very proud of, is looking at our administrative costs. For the end of last year at 3.13%. Our ceiling for that is 5%, and many districts of a comparable size to us are about 3.3 to 3.75. And so when you look at the size of our district, the number of programs that we're running, all of our new initiatives, being at just over 3% is very impressive. And I think it really speaks to how hard our administrators work, and they do a lot with very little, just like all of our teaching and support staff. So you can see where we are. If we actually spend the $138 million, which I believe is a high estimate, what our ending fund balance will be, we will likely be well under that, but that is at the top ceiling for what we were asking. Keep in mind, though, that $138 million is still below the ceiling for the estimate of needs for that legal budgetary level that the County Excise Board approves the district for. Building fund is staying relatively stable. Proposed revenue budget of a little over $5.5 million. Our main source of revenue is ad valorem dollars. One of the things that will look a little bit different in building fund going forward for this year is with the storm damage and what was sustained last spring. The district will be looking at some deductibles and some upfront costs as we wait on insurance and those type of payments to be received. So this is what we're proposing for now, but it is likely that we will have to make an adjustment as those deductibles and payments become clearer as we sort that out with our agent. And child nutrition, we're proposing a revenue budget of about $9.4 million. Again, she's doing a great job of being creative, coming up with new ways to expand her program with the Tiger Training Table and keeping kids engaged and on campus to eat good, nutritious, healthy food. And her proposed expenditure budget is $10 million. She did have some one-time costs last year with she pays for her portion of the cafeteria costs for the new elementary school, and she'll pay for the personnel that's staffed, so she is running into some one-time expenditures. May I answer any questions about the operating budget?
Ms. Eniff, thank you for this report, very detailed and extensive, and I appreciate that very much. Any discussion? We'll entertain a motion to approve or disapprove the operating budget.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, 64.
My next item is to ask the board to approve the ratification of the negotiated agreement. First of all, I think that this item deserves some much needed celebration and appreciation. I see Ms. Brown is here representing BAEA. She's the chief negotiator and BAEA president, so thank you for being here. The Board of Education for supporting this plan and being advocates for identifying a problem and helping us put in a really good plan for how to get there. Ms. Kearns also headed up the HR side of this, and so thank you to her and her team for everything that they did for the HR side. And we had two site principals, Todd Greathouse and Kristen Graves, serve on the committee. The negotiated agreement passed with a 99% approval rate for BAEA, which is very impressive. And I think this is a historic moment for Broken Arrow, what we're putting into the salary schedule, what we're investing into our teachers. So thank you, board.
But we want to thank the BAEA. I mean, 99% of that many teachers, that just shows the teamwork that we all have here and the mission that we all have for our teachers and our students. So I want to thank them for all their efforts. So, any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is to ask the board to approve the final reconciled transfer funds from the activity account to their sanctioned organization. Basically, we received a check earlier this summer that was made out to the district, and now it needs to go to baseball for through 25-15.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item, 66.
My last item is to ask the board to formally approve sanctioning for our Parent-Teacher Association Council. Obviously, PTA has been a longstanding partner with the district and done so many great things for our students and our teachers, and this is to formally sanction them.
Ms. Ena, if we be sanctioning these at each site individually, or will it be as a whole?
Well, the first step was to sanction the council. Ms. York is looking into whether or not each unit needs to be sanctioned, but the first step was to get the council.
Thank you.
All right. Recommend approval?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Ena. Next item is new business. We have none. And next item, 68, move to executive session.
Make a motion to move to executive session?
I second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you.